Okay, so let me try this once more. All right, I think that we're live. If you're out there, please join us and let us know if you anybody is out there and hearing this. So I will say, well, and I'm gonna check my sidekick here and see if she sees us. Okay. All right. You know what I'm going to do is I am going to just go ahead and we're going to go ahead and start again. And we are going to post this. And if people don't see it live, then that means they don't get to ask questions now, but they will at least see the presentation.
Cool.
So here we go. Once again, I am Gwyn Gittens, and I am here for Let's Talk. Been doing this now for actually a couple of years. And I am on the Lee County School Board, but this is not a school board sanctioned event. I am not here representing the school board or Lee County School District. I am here on behalf of myself as a citizen and member of East Lee County community. And if you are a board member, please do not join us at this time because of sunshine laws. And you can see us at any time later. I believe we're up. And so anyone can watch it later on. I'm inviting you to share with others to let them know that we're on, since we're on Facebook and on YouTube. On the Facebook side, if you're watching it from there, it's Gwynetta Holloway Gittens. If it's on YouTube, you're watching Gwyn Gittens. And on the YouTube side, the comment section is not open yet. We're going to learn how to do all that good stuff. But for right now, if you're with us and you want to make a comment, then you can do so on the Facebook comment section. I ask that everybody please keep your comments positive, and we are going to show the world how we can discuss things and talk about things and stay positive about it. Come up with some things that we can do to help, not just criticize. So my guest tonight is Butch Swank. And Butch is going to tell you who he is and how we kind of got all, together in this situation. And then our topic tonight is going to be to go over a PowerPoint that was done at the board meeting on Monday, and it shows the Capitol building plan for the East Zone. And I thought that that would be very interesting to show you and explain and answer your questions and all of that. So, Butch, tell us who you are before we get started.
Okay, first off, thank you for having me. Again, 7 o'clock is super late, may as well be midnight as far as I'm concerned. So thank you for having me stay up so late. I go to bed at like 9:30 on New Year's Eve, so this is awesome. I feel like a wild man staying up. It's true. I'm an insurance agent. I'm like the least exciting person on the planet. Miss Gittens and I became acquainted simply because I'm a parent. My kids go to school out here, and I didn't like the way things drop down to basically an F school. They can only, little known fact, they can only drop 2 grades per year. So they had a catch where they only went down to a C. But I was very frustrated, and so I just did what I could do. Actually, I didn't even know what to do. It was a teacher, my daughter's kindergarten teacher said, "Well, why don't you do something like join the school advisory council?" I'm like, what the heck is that? So I mean, there's a lot of things that parents don't know, that hopefully we can kind of share some of that info and then go through the capital improvement plan. But I do just kind of want to share how I went down this path where, basically, so I interface with the board member representing me, my kids, all of my neighbors, all of the students, administrators, teachers out here, and how accessible you are, Ms. Gittens. But so what I did was I started going to the SAC meetings, and it was obvious that the same people will go. A lot of it was teachers and administrators. There wasn't a lot of parental input, and it was a struggle. It was a fight. They did not want to hear what I had to say, and as a sidebar, so I own an insurance agency in Lehigh Acres, and so I've been told a long time to work in the community, and you work, you got kids, you go into soccer practice, you this and that. It's hard to carve out time, and I really had nowhere to go with the community thing, and I ended up just evolving into like an advocate for the schools and the kids, and ultimately the teachers and the administrators out here too. I saw a disproportionate allocation of resources out here, allocation of teachers. I saw an insane amount of portables that were not evident elsewhere in the county. And the more that I interfaced with Ms. Gittens, the more it became abundantly clear that really nobody was advocating for our kids out here, other than Ms. Gittens. And that's shenanigans. She needs some help. She needs community support to make this work, to improve everything for our kids out here. So ultimately, it was a terrible business plan because I just ended up making so little friends and a whole lot of enemies, it felt like, with the school district. But ultimately, it was the right thing to do. And I do think people see that Miss Gittens is going in the right direction. She's a fierce advocate. I've got nothing but the highest respect for her tenacity, her intellect, the way that she processes things. She doesn't look at she looks at something in detail, but she also looks at it big picture. So I think she's a remarkable thinker. So I guess bottom line is, my name is Butch Swank. I own an insurance agency out here, and I think one of the reasons that I'm a little bit helpful to Ms. Gittens is I delve into numbers every single day. It's part of my job. I do 90-page policies back and forth. I do not get bored. It's interesting to me. And so I do my best to help her in terms of numbers, data, stuff like that. That is, it's all public information from the school district. And we kind of work through things to try to figure out what are the trends here, what's happened in the past, and what do things look like going forward. And that's critical for the kids out here because we're at a massive deficit in terms of schools, infrastructure out here. And I'm doing my best to help Ms. Gittens get that corrected. So that's the long answer for who I am and kind of how we got started down the path of kind of professional advocacy, and then kind of evolved into just a straight up kind of fun friendship, going uphill and trying to make things better.
And not, and one of the things that I like about the friendship that we have formed, and the outside looking in, people would think that we are just a strange partnership. But to me, I use the example of how we talk through things, and also Gwyn is one of our confidants as well. And we can get on the phone and talk about things and totally and completely disagree and polar opposite thoughts about things. But we never, it doesn't hurt the friendship. We still understand. And I think it's because we respect other for who we are and what we believe and what we do. So I have noticed that we don't have anyone checking in. I don't know. I have it on screen. Worst case scenario is, if you're watching this later, it is live on YouTube, and I will. I think you can message me on Facebook if you have questions, and then I can put them up. But if not, worst case scenario, I will post this later and you can see it because the information will be the same. We're talking about, on Monday, we had an update from, I guess it was operations and planning at the district. And they showed us a slide presentation showing the next 5 and 10-year plan for the East Zone and District 5. And I thought that it was very, very interesting to share that and show that. And since why is this all? It's saying something about all except Facebook. I don't know why. Okay, maybe whatever. I don't know what happened, but I know that it's streaming on YouTube, and I will place it on there later. One of the things when last year when they started talking about proximity, and I was looking at the list of people on the proximity committee, and I got really kind of perturbed about it because there was no one representing the East Zone. And I thought of all of the districts that really we're the fastest growing, the most overcrowded, et cetera, that we should be involved in that. So I figured that I would, let me take that off. I would ask for community to be on, and sure enough, asked to be on. I had like I do, but him on the very, very good, should be as well, that we were able to get him on there because when there was details and data and the insurance and numbers, get some of that stuff and went, this doesn't look right. You want to give them a quick explanation of, because the proximity plan is so important as to how we're going to have students attend schools, where they're going to go, all that. So tell a little bit about what you saw just in a.
Sure, I'm happy to. And then from my perspective, I just sent you the link for the YouTube, the live YouTube, which does appear to be working. But on this, okay, you just unfroze, but you were frozen for a sec. The proximity, so as a community stakeholder, it was interesting because the school district, in short, from my interpretation of what they're trying to do, is our kids sit on buses for hours. I mean, it's so, let's say, I mean, there's a kid on a bus for an hour going to school, an hour back. So that's 10 days, or excuse me, 10 hours per week, 40 hours per month that we got a kid sitting on a bus. I mean, that's a work week that the kid is sitting there cruising, which is insane to me. And then, of course, the district also looks at it from a cost perspective. I mean, it costs money to shuttle kids back and forth. There's diesel fuel, drivers, all that stuff. So bottom line is they're working towards a more community-based schooling system, which is great. You want to have it basically within 2 miles, and that's essentially the way that it's done throughout the entire country. Having talked to one of the Davis Demographics, who is responsible for putting together the data that the district used, they said specifically this is how it's done pretty much everywhere. So we are an anomaly. So we're trying to get basically caught up to the modern day. And just looking at the numbers was interesting because they project out to 10 years. And I wasn't a fan of what their projections were. I mean, obviously COVID changed things, but the last meeting that I attended was in November or December of last year. And I did not like the numbers that they showed. I did not like the growth projections. In fact, I disagree with them completely. I haven't had any other interaction with the district about that. I was invited to a meeting, but really no time or place. That ball kind of got dropped. So as a proximity stakeholder for our zone, I'd love to know more data about what's actually going on, but I'm in the dark right now. So, and I have been since, what is it? So for 8 months. So that's the summary. If there's a specific question, I'm happy to answer it.
Let me ask you, okay, to the non-data driven parent that is just wondering what this is all about, what why is it important to know the stuff that we're talking about the planning and the building of schools and proximity? Why is that important to just the everyday average parent?
It's critically important because when you, I guess to summarize, if you look at the data in the simplest form possible, you would see that the East Zone does not have enough schools. Our schools are overcrowded. I mean, I'll put it this way. I mean, this is the way that these numbers are kind of drilled in my head. There's the district is broken in 3 zones. It's the South Zone, the West Zone, the East Zone. That's where we live, in the East Zone. And there are 22 kids in portables as of the last time that I checked, which was relatively recently. 22 kids in portables in the South Zone. There's 88 kids in portables in the West Zone. There's 1,991 kids in portables in the East. So every single parent out here should be furious, because that disparity it's indefensible. So what the planning means, what the capital spending, what they mean by capital is basically how they're going to spend the money. We're so far behind on what we have out here, literally just what we have out here, that the school district has to work really, really hard and reprioritize things to get our kids caught up with the correct amount of infrastructure that the other 2 zones have. And so that's, in a nutshell, what the capital plan means. What is the district doing to get us caught up, and then also make sure the same mistake doesn't get made again in the future by doing correct planning, forecasting what the growth is going to be in the coming days. So does that answer the question?
And it really does. And I just wanted everyone else to know and to understand how important it is. People see me sitting up there on the board and just ranting and raving about stuff sometimes, but I just, we need to know how important it is. If when we had the issue with the portables at varsity, and some people felt, oh, that was just overkill or whatever. If you saw the pictures and saw the conditions that teachers had to teach in and students had to go to school in, you would understand why that was so important to me and to all of us. So I pay very close attention to the infrastructure. The data that you gave about the number of kids in portables it's crucial. And my goal is to see all students to be out of portables, especially in the East Zone. Now, there are portables when they are staging a school, and the next year they're going to be in a regular school, and that's fine. But I made a point the other day. We have a brand new school, Lehigh Acres Middle, and what they decided to do was to move the kids from the old Lehigh Acres Middle building and put them in the new building. So there were approximately 14, 50 or so kids at the old. They moved them over. So, and there were not enough seats. They only built it for like 1250 or so. The remaining kids at Veterans Park Academy K through 8, they had middle school students there. So the plan was that they were going to go into the portables until they stopped the old building. Well, that didn't happen in time for I don't know what happened, but it didn't. So now we have a middle school building, lots of work, that this school year is not open. So when it does open, hopefully next year, they're only going to be taking the middle school students from Veterans Park Academy, of which there's like 800 or so, and moving them to the old Lambs building. And when they refurbish, there will be room for maybe 200 to 300 students more. So if you're following me number-wise, here's what happened. You move kids from one school to a new school. You move kids from an existing school into that old school. And to me, I'm not really the best math person, but we didn't get any new seats for middle school students because originally a new school was supposed to provide us what? Another at least 1,250 new middle school seats. But the way it configured for this year, and we don't get a new school in 2 years. Middle schools, middle schools are almost 15, 20 portables now. So to me, if you build a new school and you get the result of having extra seats, then to me there's something wrong with that. Does that make sense to you much? I mean, tell me what you think. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me, and I think part of the reason the district has a hard time with um, turning down my air conditioner in my office. It thinks no one's here, so it's making it like 800 degrees in here. Um,
Oh,
so excuse me.
okay.
But I think one of the reasons we get frustrated with district is common sense things like what you just said. Okay, it's almost like a shell game. We're moving kids here, there, but nothing is changing. Um, is nonsensical. And then when we raise points, which are completely valid points, saying we're already, I mean, we basically need two middle schools at this point out here, and we're not even getting a new one. And the answers are frustratingly difficult to pull out of the district. Um, when you do get answers, they're like purposely obtuse, like you're not getting clear answers, and that doesn't really engender trust or faith or support in the district. And at that point, it's not. We're trying to come to this from a helpful perspective, and I feel like a lot of times we get treated adversarially. Um, we're advocating for the kids and the teachers out here. And one other thing to throw in there I ended up talking to a whole bunch of administrators and just even teachers. I mean, this, unless you live in the world, you're not aware. I mean, as a parent, portable, like, who cares? Well, a portable means a teacher basically doesn't have a home. I mean, they're getting moved around. They got to take all their stuff, all their supplies. And one of the other challenges out here is we're a hard to staff zone in general. I mean, the principals have a hard time keeping teachers out here. And then when you stick teachers that are already not thrilled in a portable, they feel like second class citizens. I mean, they're not getting, so it's in their face every single day that they're not getting any support, the critical support that they actually need to do their job. And I mean, it's demoralizing. So, I mean, the further down you go into the way people actually feel. I mean, here are the policy decisions the district is making, and then how does it actually play out on a day-to-day basis? You got some frustrated teachers, you got frustrated administrators, and what's it doing for our kids? I mean, it's not helping things. So, I mean, yeah, it makes perfect sense to me, and I think to further your point, if you have a school that has 1,450 kids, why on God's green earth do you build a new school that has 1,200? I mean, and these are the things that we specifically said prior to the start of the construction. And I mean, I understand it takes years to plan out, but understood, we're going to modify this. We're going to do something to fix this immediately. And that's not, a lot of the times it's just pushback. So even when you make common sense, extremely reasonable, I think, from our perspective, um, it, it, you share some data. Okay, listen to what it looks like from our end. It's just nonstop pushback. And so again, that's one of the reasons why I love you so much, because you are a fierce advocate. You get pushback consistently, and you're even more consistent by pushing right back. So yeah, your point makes sense to me. makes a lot of sense. So
Well, and we were saying too about moving from a school that had 1,450 to a school for 1,250, and I had mentioned this before on one of the other broadcasts, is when they announced that they were building the new middle school, and I said, "Oh, well, how many students?" And they said 1,450 on paper, but we're only building it for 1,250 because the DOE will not give us permission to do the other 2, 3, because when they in Tallahassee look at a request to build a school, they say, okay, do you need the seats? And what that means is, how far over are you with the number of seats and how crowded is it? Well, the glitch is the portables that you own, those are considered permanent seats. So your building, the plans was built for 900 and some students. They had 1,450, but 20 portables were out back, and they're portables that we own. So when I said, well, what can we do about that? You can't move 1,450 into 12. What are you going to do with the extra? And who's going to call those parents and say, well, you 300 can't go? So I was told that we could build it with half-cent tax money, that quote unquote, and you heard it, it was on one of our Eastleigh Education Co-op meetings, and we were told, yes, that's what the tax money's for. And somehow or another, it just kept sliding along, and the building was done, and we didn't get the extra part on there. So I don't know. Sometimes it's frustrating, but I keep saying, like a broken record, we need to change our priorities. And I will continue to say it until somebody really listens and does something about it. I am highly frustrated that you build a brand new school where we should have had at least 12 new middle school. You're taking some 1,250 seats and overcrowding. So I'm just very frustrated that we continue. Let me put the our gorgeous moment. And I'm going to put up a PowerPoint that we saw at the meeting on Monday, because I want to share as we're going through just slides and but and I say I'm proud of myself, my little angel confidant out there. I'm not her name because I'm not sharing her with you. We can share our screen. Here we go. I'm going to put it up, and exactly what we're talking about. Keep our fingers crossed here. Okay. Yay! I hope it's up there. I'm watching the screen, see if it's up. I've got 2 or 3 computers and 2 phones going here.
You may have to move it around a little bit, because I just see basically the Caloosahatchee River in a couple of the circles. It's not the full screen.
Okay. All right. How is that?
Yeah, a little better.
You know what? Okay. I can do is do so that we can. Yeah, we're still on there. Let me go back to this one. I'm getting messages. Somebody saying my coffee. It did showing, but I want you guys to see it, and then I can come back. This was tell me it. which
Pardon
is
me?
it clear? Can you
Yeah,
see
I
the
can. That's better.
screen?
Yes.
Uh, this is planning strategy based on it on my board. Remember, I'm here representing the board. I'm here representing my community and explaining things so that you all understand exactly what's going on. So it's showing the current school locations, property constraints, and future site location strategy. My biggest concern is that last one, future site location strategy. So let's get going. All right, so these are the elementary schools. Okay. Can you see that one?
Yep. Looks good.
Okay. This line right down here, I don't know if you can see me moving, but this line down here is 82. And if you're watching this on Facebook, if you make it big, spread out the screen, then you'll be able to see exactly what we're talking about. I don't know if you can see my arrow, but you'll see a yellow circle at the bottom, another yellow circle, and another yellow circle. The green circles are existing schools. So that's where we have schools already. The red areas are very few people or houses or families living there. So they're not really necessary to fill in schools in those areas. As you can see, outlined in yellow are the areas of potential gaps. I don't know. You look at the green circles, look how overlapping they are. And each one of those green stars is an existing school. And remember, this is just elementary.
And that's
So,
also where the green stars are is where you have the highest density of students. When you look at like the heat map or the student density, and the district has some really impressive data in terms of, I mean, right down to the household, how many kids are in the household. So that data is pretty great. But just so people know when they're looking at this thing, um, every single place where you see those green stars, that's where the bulk of the population is in that big whiteout picture of Lee County.
and you know what? And I will slip over to the second. Um, we'll go to Mrs. Heigl. I do want to show you map the population. This is and again, here's 82. And you guys wait a few seconds behind me. Just they're unable to find. I hope they do. It'll be. But looking at this elementary, and of course, what it says, yeah, the redder, the more dense. And here we are. I'll make it over again and move it over. So here's this is all the gateway right here, and this is 82. Right away, it's kind of in one second for elementary, but as you get further out, you'll see the heat map for middle school changes tremendously. You see all of this in here next, and this is almost like bright red from on in, and the rest of the east and southern part of Lehigh and of the whole East Zone. We go to high school, and there's the density again. It's interesting. High school and middle school, he has, which is good because one feeds the other. So this is where the middle grades are, and you know that we need high school as well. So what questions that was asked at the meeting was to take these heat density maps and overlay them with the circle map. Supposing slide, you guys will catch with me. I hope enough. Okay, you guys are supposed to be a slide that will have the heat map on this, which to me makes sense. Because
Yeah, you may want to let me try to
we actually would
explain some of it, because I think you're getting choppy because of the presentation, because you're sharing the screen.
Okay, go ahead.
It was sounded a little choppy on my end, and have been for a minute or two.
No, you go ahead, but explain the way you see it.
All right. From my perspective, what this is telling us is where you see Lehigh Acres is a huge area, and then you can look around kind of Fort Myers area where the river widens. There's a whole bunch of schools right there, and that is part of Miss Gittens' zone. But where we're really deficient actually is out in Lehigh Acres. We're literally missing, like, probably, I don't think we're desperate for high school, but we're definitely need some more middle schools and some elementary schools. And so one of the kind of red flags, or yellow flags, we should say, if we're sticking with the color scheme, the one on the south side, the circle at the bottom of the screen essentially, is covering where no one lives. And I think they were just kind of trying to put a circle in the middle. But I mean, all the population lives to the north of 80, or excuse me, of 82. And if you looked at that heat map, you would see there's dense concentration of kids there, and then there's nothing in all of these farm fields to the south. So, the concern here is, why would we put a school on the south side of 82 when none of the kids live there? So it's basically precluding them from being able to ride a bike or to walk. I mean, no sane parent is going to have their kid cross 82. And it's, I think, basically, from seeing the history of the decision making, it's difficult, at least from my perspective, it's difficult to understand why you would put the school right there. Now, the counter argument would be there's going to be massive growth on the south side of 82 here, much sooner than later, and that is a fact. But the reality is we need schools now, and putting them where growth is going to be in the future as opposed to where we need it right now is still nonsense. So I think that's what Ms. Gittin was trying to convey. And I'll let you chime in, make sure I wasn't getting out of bounds there.
No, that's fine. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, because I think when I'm sharing, I'm a little bit choppy. Hold on. Okay, so I took it off because I think when I'm sharing, it gets a little choppy. I don't know if you can hear me better now, but that's exactly the point. And I will post this PowerPoint to my Facebook and YouTube page so you can take a look at it. But our point is, if you have a circle drawn and say we need a middle school here, and it's encompassing an area on the other side of 82 where there is nothing but cows right now, it perpetuates what I have been saying, that we plan for future growth and not current need. So if you've heard me say that and you don't understand it, looking at that picture explains it. And I brought the question up, and you can watch the video on Monday, and I did say that same thing. Why are you planning for future growth and not current need? You see the heat map. You see where the kids are. There are no kids on the other side of 82. And My thing about priority is we take care of the needs we have now, and then we project into the future. And
I,
for some
I
reason, go ahead.
well, I mean, I think you're 100% right because I see this a lot with the school district, and I get frustrated because I see them. Their mentality is we need to optimize things, and optimizing is when everything is taken care of and then you're just making things better, and everything is not taken care of. I mean, until the infrastructure deficiencies are addressed, there's no optimizing. I mean, when you in a triage situation, a hospital, you're figuring out who needs help first. Well, the east zone needs help now, has needed help for years, and then so if I'm going to try to be as generous as possible, um, the district is like a aircraft carrier, and they're difficult to turn around. It takes a long time. There's a lot of work involved. But I mean, you've been doing this now since 2018, and you just keep having to ramp up the intensity of the fight. And I keep thinking, one day we're going to see concrete evidence of the aha moment where the district says, "You're right, Miss Gittens. We do need to change priorities." And this most recent capital the plan is not reflecting what I think the actual reality is. It's frustratingly, it's like they're tone deaf or they're number deaf or they're school deaf, where they cannot hear this stark reality that you're telling them. They do not want to acknowledge it. And so, keep fighting, and you're always going to have our support. But I think it was very smart to show that, because it does a really good job of portraying in one image what you're going up against.
Mm.
It's so hard to just look at raw numbers and be, okay, this is abundantly clear to me what needs to happen, and then we see that map.
And it brings it home to it brought it home to me.
Yeah,
And one of the things is, so when I brought it up and I said, well, if you're looking at building schools over here to encompass a new area that's not there, we're still overcrowded where all those green stars are. And they said, yes, but when we build those schools, we can move kids from the green stars into the yellow circle area. I said, yes, but at the same time, you're moving new kids that are not here yet into that yellow circle too. So again, we end up being overcrowded.
yeah,
Where is everybody going to go? And I just, I am not in any way, shape, or form against development and growth. But I also feel that when you look at development and growth, you have to look at your infrastructure, you have to look at your resources and figure, is this the best thing to do? Which brings me to my last point, which was they talked about the tech center. And since I've been on the board, I have brought it up that we need a technical center out here. And my point was, we've got 38% of the people that attend Fort Myers Technical Center are from the East Zone, from Hendry County, and from Charlotte County. And I explained that as, if you are a business owner, and but you can understand this, if you have a store in Fort Myers and you track your data and you find out that 38% of your customers are driving from the East Zone to come to your store, so they come in once a week. Good business sense would say, it's like Starbucks. Well, we do a heat map here. A lot of our customers are coming from over here. So if we really want to help our customers, we'll put a store out there where they are. If they come to us once a week all the way over here, they'll probably come twice a week if we're right around the corner. And what about the others that would like to come to us? It's business sense. So why can't we understand, if 38, almost 40% of your population going to a particular school is from one area? it just stands to reason to me that you would put something out there, even a satellite or something to help them as well, especially when you're looking at an area that 25% of the average household spends, no, the average household, I'm sorry, spends 25% of their annual expenditures on transportation if you live out here. And going back to what you said earlier about teachers, we're begging for teachers. We're always the highest number on the vacancy list because we have to attract somebody from Cape Coral or from, the southern areas, and we're not paying them any extra stipend. And a lot of that stuff needs to change. So that's kind of what's going on. I don't want to paint a real bleak picture, but what do we need? Why are we here, and why are Butch and I talking about this? Because we also need other voices. It's your children, it is your community, it is your infrastructure and economics that are happening out here. And if we don't speak up now about our needs, as the growth continues on the other side of 82, we will be pushed further and further down the priority list. And Butch, do you want to add to that, or say, what do you think is the main nugget to take from this? What would you tell people to take from it?
I think there's several. I think the first one would be every single parent that's listening to this. I'll give you the shortest way that you can advocate for your own kid is to, I would meet, if it's elementary school, meet the teacher, make a point of meeting the teacher, make a point of checking in with the teacher. I would also go so far to talk to the principal. I mean, I was a grown man and I was afraid to go talk to the principal because principals are scary. When I walked out of there, I was like, wow, I survived. I'm so proud of myself. Principals are not scary. They want to help you. If I thought that way, I'm hoping other people weren't as scared as I was going to talk to the principal, but I survived. And so the short recipe here is talk to the teacher, talk to the principal, and then just go from there. If you're really feeling ambitious, check into the school advisory council. They will be grateful for your input. And the more parents that actually give them input, the more they can give that information back to the district, and the more we can affect change. And then I think to Ms. Gittens' other point, if we're looking at like the technical school, which really should be built out here as soon as possible. I mean, 40% of the kids are traveling to Fort Myers, adding to the traffic. I mean, you're wasting the kids' time. Build a school here. I mean, that's simple. So, if we're looking at things from a purely business perspective, which I do think the district should try to have a more business-like perspective on things, look at performance. I mean, look at how our kids out here are performing versus other zones. I mean, just break it down as simple as that. Are our kids doing as well as they should be compared to the other zones? No, they're not. Do we have the most number of C schools? Absolutely, we do. Is that fair? No. And we shouldn't just sit there and take that. We should fight like hell to get that remedy. So, I mean, again, I agree with you. I'm all for development. I mean, that's part of my business model. I mean, the more people are here, the more people I can assure their houses and their homes. But at the same time, if I'm not taking care of the fundamentals of my business, I'm doing a bad job as a CEO. So, what I want the school district to do is look at the fundamentals and make sure those things are taken care of, and then you can focus on growth and development, whatever else. You can't, if you don't do first principles, if you don't take care of the things that are most important, then you can talk about development, but really at the end of the day, when people actually look at your performance, it's going to be wanting. I mean, you're going to be found wanting. And then what are you going to do? Build another school somewhere else and try to spin it and make it look good? I mean, really, when you just look at the performance numbers, it's not good. I would not. I've told Ms. Gittens this. I mean, I would sleep in a cot until some of these things got fixed at the district, until I saw real change occurring. So I guess the ultimate takeaway is advocate for your kids, for your own family. Ms. Gittens is an invaluable resource. She will move heaven and earth to get things improved. She's not going to stop. I can promise you that. And she's building a small and getting larger everyday army of parents and interested people that do want to make things better out here. We're not adversarial at all. If we have to be, we absolutely will. But I think she's done a really good job of being diplomatic, getting a system that has basically ignored the East Zone for probably at least 20 years to perk up its ears and start listening. And trust me, they have no choice but to pay attention to her. And the more of us that back her, the sooner things will get better. So those are my takeaways.
And thank you so much for that. And it was unsolicited. I wasn't, saying, "Oh, tell me more," but just very honest and straightforward.
Here, I'm checking my notes. Did I read everything you gave me? I'm just kidding. It's blank.
Listen, when he will tell me when it's not the right thing. Trust me, he will. So, but I thank you so much for joining with me. And I don't know about everybody else. I really love the format of having someone else, so you don't just sit there and listen to me drone on for an hour. But this has been excellent. I apologize if you weren't able to see it live at this point. So let me just say to you, it will be posted on YouTube and on my Facebook page. And on Facebook, if you want to do a comment after the fact, I will always go back and I always look and answer your comments. I am still available at 239-634-0164 and Gwynetta S. Gittens at leeschools.net. Next week, I want to talk to you about the Superintendent Search Survey, and I'm going to have it up and go through it with you because it can be a little daunting. Why is it important? Because as we're looking for a superintendent, what the survey is saying, they are gathering this information and saying, what type of superintendent do you need or want? And they're putting all of those, 31 qualities together, and then they'll come up with the advertisement that reflects the priorities that you and the community have set. So it's important to know what you think. Parents don't have parents, taxpayers as well. The superintendent of schools is someone that's going to represent a lot of the things in our community. So who and what type of person are we looking for? So next week, if you haven't already done the survey, it's out there for staff and teachers and parents, and it's out in the community right now. And where we're at with this process, on the 21st and 22nd, they're going to be doing like town halls and discussions. I'm trying to make sure that they do one for the East Zone. It may just be digital, and I'll definitely be there to help host, but we need your input. We need to know what you think. We are also looking at the fact that if there's legislation that will be on the 22 ballot to make the superintendent position a elected position. So in 2024, who knows, we might be electing our first superintendent. But all of that is coming, and we'll talk about it next week. Thank you. I will post the information, the PowerPoint or the link to it. Take a look at it, ask questions. And if you don't understand something, or give me some comments. Thank you so much, Butch, and thank you so much to those of you that were watching and will watch in the future because you couldn't get on. Thank you so much. Have a good night and stay safe.
Bye, guys. See you, Ms. Gittens.
Bye-bye.